Hi, it's Jamie from Guildbrook Farm and welcome to The Dirt. Today I want to talk about the dark side of homesteading. Think of The Dirt as a getting to know you session, and today I want to talk about the dark side of homesteading. In particular, what I'm referring to is death on the homestead. Now, this is something that a lot of you older homesteaders and farmers are very much familiar with, but some of you newer homesteaders or homesteaders to be, this might be a topic that you may maybe only vaguely think about, or it's just the reality of death really hasn't sunk in or really occurred to you yet. And so I thought it would be a good topic to talk about, in particular since we did have a death on the homestead today, and it was a very tragic death. Now, there are a lot of different types of or forms of death on the homestead. One can just be an animal dying for one reason or another. Maybe it's disease or just old age or something similar to that, where an animal, you come outside and your animal is dead. Another form of that, though, is where you're raising animals for meat and you take that life intentionally for consumption, and you go in with the intention of taking that animal's life to feed you, to nourish you. You're raising that animal in the best way that you feel possible. Most people do anyway, and you take that animal to feed yourself. And then there is another type of death that we encountered today, which is a very, very tragic death, which is where an animal was injured, mortally wounded, and that was where it was the responsibility of me to put that bird out of her misery. And I think that is probably the hardest form of death on the homestead, in particular when it comes to an animal that was reared as a pet, such as in this case. So I'll tell you what happened. We live in obviously a very wooded area, and red-tailed hawks are a problem around here, as are raccoons and foxes, and a number of other predators around here. And when you have chickens, that's something that you need to be very aware of, and you try to take as many precautions as you can. And in particular, when you decide to get animals on your homestead, you go in with a mindset that there could potentially be a death on the homestead, or you know that there will be. There's pretty much 100% chance that there, in some form, one of those three forms, there will be a death on the homestead. It's just this third form is probably the toughest, in particular when you raise an animal that's to be a pet. So what happened was we had our little silky chicken got taken by a hawk this morning. When I heard a lot of commotion, you can see how close our house is. I was just inside, and I saw the chickens freaking out a bit, and I came outside immediately, within seconds. And I saw that a hawk was on top of our silky chicken Gary, and I ran off, and I ran out and got inside the fence. This hawk was not afraid of me. It wasn't until I got within, I would say, 5 feet that the hawk took off. And I saw that the damage was done. The hawk had mortally wounded our silky chicken, all in a matter of seconds. And of course, this was devastating to everyone in the family, but in particular to my husband and my kids, because this pet, or this chicken, was raised as a pet. She was purchased with the intent of being a pet, not of being eaten, not just for eggs, although she was our first layer and she was laying pretty well. So when I saw that she was mortally wounded, it was up to me to dispatch her, and that's something that, if you decide to get pets or chickens or goats or pigs or anything on your homestead, you need to be aware of your responsibility to that animal, to whatever extent that might be. And in this particular case, that meant it was a mortal wound, and taking care of that particular animal, dispatching it myself. And you can't rely on other people. Maybe you'll say that my spouse will take care of that. But in this particular situation, if your spouse is at work, you can't let an animal suffer like that. It's your responsibility to take care of that animal, and not to let it suffer. So it would be up to you, whoever is home at that particular time when any incident happens, to take care of any problems that might arise, such as having to dispatch an animal that is suffering. So before you get into homesteading, or if you just started off at homesteading, this is something that you really need to mentally prepare for, because it isn't easy. It wasn't easy for me. I try not to name my chickens, although the kids and my husband are the ones that named all these birds, and that's one way of helping to, I want to say, kind of numb yourself against what you might have to do. So I did not name my chickens, that the family did, which honestly didn't make it any easier, because I still love those chickens and I love Gary. But that's one thing you can do, but you need to be mentally prepared and run through these scenarios in your head, that if something does happen, are you going to be able to take care of that problem? So make sure you keep that in mind before you go and buy pets. Now again, I was prepared for this. I say I was prepared. I'm not cold-hearted. I'm torn up inside about it, to be perfectly honest. It did affect me. As it will whenever we start raising our dual-purpose birds for meat, and whenever I take those as well. But you do have to mentally prepare for a situation like this, and know that you're going to be able to take care of it if the need arises. So just a little tip, like I said, for you newbie homesteaders or homesteaders to be, this is definitely something that you need to keep in mind whenever you decide to get an animal on your homestead. Are you going to be able to take care of it and do what needs to be done should the scenario arise? If you guys are already homesteaders out there, maybe you encountered a scenario like this, and you have any tips or tricks, leave those below. And if you guys are new to homesteading, or if you guys have any questions or comments about this kind of stuff, leave those below as well. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching.